Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. It's great to have you. Today we're going to do a final review on this guy. This is the iRobot, the smallest mopping robot from the company iRobot. It is the Braava Jet 240. And I've had this thing in my house now for a little over 3 months. So I wanted to give a 3-month final review on what my thoughts are on this and whether or not you should put this in your house. So let's go ahead and get started. So for $180, what do you get? You get this little small robot, and you can see here about the size of my hand that it's not very big. It's a little small, which is great for getting in tight places. It comes with 3 different types of mopping pads. It comes with the mopping pad here. It comes with a damp mopping pad, and it comes with a dry pad, which puts no water on the floor. I also purchased reusable mopping pads off of Amazon. Did not get the original ones from iRobot as they were a bit expensive, so I tried some aftermarket ones. These are made by Keepow. Comes with the dry pad, the damp pad, and the mopping pad. And I've been using these. I didn't use these in my test. I always use the original ones whenever I did any of my tests to make sure that the tests were accurate using official mopping pads, the ones that are tossable. In all of my reviews, I only used these when I was mopping around the house, and they did a really good job. The disadvantage is with the reusable mopping pads is with these tossable ones here, you can see they're colored, and they actually have a bit of chemical in them. So when you're mopping with these, it puts down a fresh scent, and it actually has a little bit of a cleaning ability with it also. That is my cat, Cosmo. He is wanting to be part of the action. So that is one of the disadvantages to using the reusable pads, is obviously you don't have that cleaning supply built into it. It comes with a wall charger and a removable battery off the back. Let's talk about performance real quick. I was quite impressed with the cleaning ability. You set this thing loose in your house, and you put it on the floor, it'll get up most all stains. In fact, I did a mopping test that you can see in the link below, and the mopping test, I was quite impressed with the ability of this guy. Talking about navigation now, this is where some of the shortcomings come with this. There's no smart navigation, there's no LiDAR, there's no camera-based system on this at all. So all it uses is a series of gyroscopes to try to determine where it is in your house. And I think this is one of the shortcomings with it, and it actually gives it some of the most limitations. Because of this, it also means there's no charging dock, which is the reason why you have the removable battery in the back. So it's not going to go back home and charge itself. And also it means that you have to pick this thing up with a little carrying handle and move it around your house and put it in different rooms when you want it to mop. It works really well in simple small areas. In bigger areas it struggles a bit, and that's been my experience. In small areas like bathrooms or real small foyers, it did pretty well. Once it gets into bigger rooms or more complex rooms, the navigation of this thing tends to get a little wonky. Sometimes it can get stuck and also have a tendency to not really return back to where it started. So what iRobot says, you're supposed to start this in the lower left-hand corner of your room, about a foot off of the wall and about a foot off of the corner. And once you start it, when it's finished mopping, it's supposed to return to that area within relatively close proximation of where it started. And it does have the ability, when you turn it on, if you hold the button down long enough, you'll notice these 2 blue lines on the side right there, and what that is a virtual boundary. So if I set this thing right here and I start letting it go this direction, the virtual boundary draws a line behind the robot here, and basically what it says is that, well, I won't cross back over this line right here going this way. So if I want to put this in a doorway and I start it here in the room and I have all solid walls right here, then that's great. But if I have a room that has multiple entryways and I don't have an easy way to block those off, well, that could be problematic. So that's the only way that it has for blocking. It doesn't allow you to use magnetic strips, and of course without smart navigation you can't do no-go zones. Let's talk about the app real quick. So the app, they do give you app, it does have app connectivity. It's a little bobo, so let's talk about it a little bit. So when you go into the app and you connect to this does not connect to your wireless network at all. Your app connects to the wireless network, and the app direct connects to this guy. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you have to be within 10 feet. You have to keep your cell phone or tablet, wherever you want to use to control this, within 10 feet of the robot in order to pick up a signal. And once you get logged in and connected to this thing, which takes about 30 seconds or so, really the only options you have in the app is to see the status of it, to see the battery status, which is the only way to see the battery status, by the way, is in the app, and also control the water level output. Now, with the water level output, you get two different options. With these tossable pads here, you get 3 different water levels that you can choose. Of course, with the dry pad, you get no water level. Now, with these aftermarket mopping pads I had here, the little Velcro removable part in the back, which resembles the sensor that it detects which mopping pad when you go to install it at the bottom of the robot. The little sensor under here that detects which mopping pad you have installed. These show up as disposable. So you will set the controls. If you get the aftermarket ones, you will set the controls for these will be the same as these. If you get the reusable ones from iRobot, there is a separate set of settings that you can control the mopping settings for these as well. So that's just something to know. So I really found myself only using the app to control the water setting output, and the one that worked the best for me was the lowest setting. Let's talk about some pros and cons real quick. The pros of this thing, for one, it does have a good cleaning ability. So if you put this thing down in your house, you put it down in a room, aside from the navigation issues, it does a really good job cleaning. I think part of that is because of the vibrating head. So the head here on the robot, on the very front where the pad slides in, these pads just slide in just like that. When you turn it on and it starts mopping, this head vibrates like this. So that helps with the cleaning ability, and being this thing so small and light, you really need something extra like the vibrating head to help get the floors clean. So that is a plus, and it's the only mopping robot that I'm aware of that has a vibrating head. The cost of this thing is not too expensive, $180. While that may be expensive for some people, comparatively speaking to the big brother of this, the M6, which is over twice the cost. In fact, with M6, I have that one in, and I will start doing reviews and tests on it very soon, so keep an eye out for those videos. The other pro of this thing is the tight space. So this is the only mop that I was able to find that would get between my toilet and the wall. The space between the toilet and the wall in my bathrooms is about this wide. This is the only robot that I can measure that would actually get in between there. So that is a pro. The height of it's not too bad, so it can get up under some cabinets. I did think that the removable battery was a pro, because if these go bad, you can just replace them, or you can buy multiples, and if one goes dead, then you can have multiples charged up. You don't have to worry about one. One was enough for me to do my cleanings. That wasn't that big of a deal for me. I found the limitation on the cleanings is more or less the amount of water level and the pad. So the battery wasn't really a problem for me. Having one was just perfectly fine. The adjustable water output was a big bonus on this. I appreciate iRobot giving us the ability to adjust the water level. You can use reusable mopping pads. These get quite expensive. So the fact that you can buy reusable mopping pads is a plus, and the fact that it works with the reusable mopping pads, even aftermarket ones, is a plus. Like I said earlier, this does cover all nooks and crannies. So you put this in a room, it will make sure it gets tight up against your baseboards, and tight up in the corners. It does a really good job of doing that. So let's talk about some cons real quick. Honestly, this is really just for small rooms. So if you have a mostly carpeted house, and maybe only your bathrooms or just your kitchen is linoleum, tile, or hardwood floor, this might be okay for you. If your house is mostly tile or hardwood floor, or hard flooring, not carpet, I wouldn't recommend you getting this. When you put it in bigger rooms, it has a tendency to kind of get lost, and can also get stuck and hung up. My dining room, this is the room that I'm in now, it almost every time was unsuccessful in finishing a mopping in this room. So the virtual wall option that allows you to put this down and say, well, don't go behind here, I'd say it worked about 70 or 80% of the time. So that's a problem, because if you rely on it and you don't keep an eye on the robot, it can have a tendency to go past it, and you may not want it to go past it. I don't think this is heavy enough. So as I mentioned, having traction problems on this thing, Maybe it's because of the wheels. The wheels are rubber coated. Show the wheels there. I don't know how well you can see them, but they are rubber coated. But a lot of times I would find that it would be stuck in places with the wheels spinning. So I just felt like maybe it wasn't heavy enough. I think that this thing might just be more work than pulling out a mop and mopping at times. When you have to babysit it without smart navigation, you're doing one room at a time. If you wanted to do multiple rooms, say I wanted to do my dining room, kitchen, and foyer, honestly, one of these mopping pads is not really enough. Depends on how dirty your floors are, but these mopping pads are quite small, so they get saturated pretty quick. And really, one of these was good for about a room, maybe a room and a half, plus the size of the water tank, which is about a little less than half a cup. I found was good for about a room, maybe a room and a half also. Plus the battery is good for about 2 rooms. So with all that taken into consideration, if I want to mop my foyer, my kitchen, my dining room, and my 2 bathrooms, I'm gonna probably go through about 3 of these mopping pads, which gets costly at about $8 for a box of 10, which is the reason to get the reusable ones. And by the way, I put these in the washing machine. Take the Velcro backing off, make sure you get some with the Velcro backing, throw them in the washing machine, and they've held up really well. So if you do get one of these, I recommend picking up some of these. And what I did is I took some just Mr. Clean floor cleaner, and I lightly spritzed the pad right before I started my mopping. Not a lot. Now, if you put a lot on here or you put a lot of cleaner on the floor, you're going to increase the traction problems with this thing, and it's going to go haywire. So I just put just a little bit of cleaner on the pad to mimic what the factory disposable pads had, and with that, I seem to have some pretty good success. So if you use these, it's going to get quite expensive. This thing has gotten on my carpet a time or two. It's supposed to have a sensor on the front that lets it know when it's on carpet. However, if you have a flooring that butts up to a carpet, especially if your carpet's at the same height, a real low pile carpet as your floor, there's not really a whole lot that's going to stop this thing from going on carpet. So that is just something to be aware of, is that it will have a tendency to end up on your carpet, and obviously you don't want it mopping your carpets or going from your carpets to your flooring. So let's get to the recommendations. Do I recommend this? Well, it's kind of a yes and a no for me, and I know that's not very fair, but yes, if you live in a real small apartment or studio apartment, and maybe you just have a few floors, if you just want this to clean your bathrooms, in fact, I think that's what I'm going to use this for, is just cleaning my bathrooms, because it's the only robot that can get between my toilet and the wall and clean every square inch of my bathroom. So this is perfect. What I do is I set it down in my bathroom, I turn it on, I close the doors, and I let it go. And it does a really good job. So for that, I do recommend it. Do you want to spend $180 to have a mop to clean your bathroom? Well, that's up to you. Probably most people would say no. If you're cleaning large areas, or you don't want the hassle of having to carry this around, or constantly having to change out pads, fill up water, charge battery, move it to the next room, those are some of the limitations that you're going to have with this. It does require some babysitting. I would let it go at times, and what I find is that if it gets lost and you can't return back to where it is, eventually it does give up and turn off somewhere. So I can always tell because it's turned off somewhere in the room, where nowhere near where it started, so I can tell that it lost its way. But even when it loses its way, it usually still covers every square inch. The problem ends up being is that it runs over the same area about 4 or 5 times. So it gives a real thorough cleaning, but then it's running the battery down, it's running the water down, and using the mopping pad even more. So it does require some babysitting. So for $180, that's my review of the iRobot Braava Jet 240. If you have one of these, drop a comment below. Let me know what your experience is. Is it similar to mine? I'd like to hear from you. And as always, make sure that you help me support my channel by subscribing and liking this video. Give me a big thumbs up if you like it. If not, give it a thumbs down. And we'll see you next time, folks. Take it easy.